This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Saints Pod. My name is Greg, and joining me today for episode 483, my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zach. Mate, how you doing? You all good?
That's a big old number, isn't it? Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Just looking forward to watching some football. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing about that number, mate, is it goes up every single day. That's the crazy thing that we do. But you're right. Football back at St Mary's at last. It's been a strange one, right? Because normally we at least get a pre-season game at St Mary's to kind of keep us going, but this is, apart from open training, which I'm not sure really counts, this is the first time back at St Mary's since last season. It's pretty mad.
Yeah. We're still exciting. Unbeaten there at least, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I mean, other than we were 20 games unbeaten in all in league, home and away, right? So at least a good section of that is at home, even without having the numbers in front of me. But yeah, it's going to be good. I'm excited. But I mean, a team that we're playing against that historically, at least in my experience, produced the most boring matches of football that I think I've ever seen. Saints v Stoke historically, just an absolute snooze fest.
I after last season, I don't think you can say that. In our first game against them, where we lost 2-1, there were like 30 shots. In the second game when we beat them, there were 21, and they were quite evenly. It was quite even-sided. You're thinking of a Stoke that would like have one shot on target, and then we would pepper them with like 57, but probably not, because they would break us down. So in actuality, there'd be like 3 shots the entire game, and it would be a 0-0 draw. So I'm totally fine with this narrative for last season, right? You cannot, after playing 2 games against them that were quite good and produce goals, be like, no, it's Stoke, they're rubbish, mate. It's the one my father-in-law says was the most boring game he ever went to. And I don't doubt that for a second. However, that isn't, that wasn't the Stoke of the past. It doesn't, however, mean they finish any further than 17th. So,
I mean, look, there's potential that Stoke are a scary side to play against. They've had a pretty good transfer window, right? They've made some moves, signed, players in pretty much all positions. A new midfielder, a big signing from Swansea for 11 million, Galbraith. And a new striker from the Eredivisie for 5.5 million. Like, there's potential that Stoke could really put us to the sword, to be honest, especially if we play the way we did in our first half last week.
Well, they did beat us once last season, but when they did beat us, Greg, it was a side that consisted of Armstrong, Robinson, and Fernandez as our front line. You'll notice that not a single one of them are currently with the club. I know that Robinson is out on loan. And then Wellington on the left, who obviously we know it's now Farmer Manning. Ryan Fraser on the right. Charles and Downs were in the middle, so there is some consistency. And like Stevens and Harwood Bellis were also in that squad, with Bazunu in goal. And we lost 2-1, and Harwood Bellis scored. So, like, that was complete. We had the most of possession. We only had 2 shots on goal, though. It wasn't a great game. But then, like, fast forward to January, Honda's at the wheel at that point. You've got everything starting to, like, sort of build up a bit. We've won quite a lot of games. And then we get 2 goals, one from Azaz and one from Flynn Downs, in a side that, to be honest, bar maybe Manning in for Wellington and Laren in for Stewart, I wouldn't hugely be mad about the side that we put out. I would have exactly pretty much almost the same side now as to when we beat them last January, which says a lot, to be perfectly honest.
Look, I mean, that was really the start of where we were kicking on from, right? And making the big push towards the top end of the table that we needed to do. It's look, I mean, trying to sugarcoat it, but also like Stokes lost to Swansea last week, so are they actually going to be pushing on? Is it just a case where they've made enough signings of quality that they're going to be bringing them in and it's just going to take a minute to gel like us at the start of last season?
I know it's one of those things where we'd end up just not talking about it if we summed it up with the fact that anyone could beat anyone on their day. But I genuinely feel like if this is St Mary's, it adds a little bit of fire to it, and everyone's going to be sort of raving to go, and there's going to be a bit more. I'm hoping that there'll be a bit more crowd noise, and that we had to kind of galvanise the squad to push on and get a really good result. And I think that is a hard thing to deal with as an away side. And hopefully we can just put to bed that last week was a bit of a, what's the word, like just, hiccup in the start of the season due to the fact there was just a bit of rustiness, right? What I don't want is that, like, we had an episode where we kind of talked about the end of Spygate, and we don't really want to talk about it much anymore, simply because, well, I think everyone's kind of just bored of it. Like, turns out that we managed to bring that episode out at a time that a lot of other Saints creators also kind of did the same thing without any of us talking about it, which was weird. And I think that everybody kind of had the same sort of thought pattern, which is we had a really bad game, and then we've gone, is it because of this? Are we not over it? Is that why? And I can tell you from the amount of people that have just gone, ugh, we're all over it.
Yeah,
so I think that the way that to prove that to everyone else is to get a really good win on Saturday. And I think that Stoke are as big as any side to unfortunately have to put up with that. And I think, I can see us getting a good result in front of the home fans and then push on from there. And I'd really like to put last weekend down to just a blip. And there's obviously been a lot of stick towards Jack Stevens. I don't know if you saw. Did you see Alfie House's tweet about like a player where he basically posted all the results and was like, "Who is this player?" And there's a lot of like, "It's Flynn Downs," and it turned out to obviously be Jack Stevens, and it showed that we actually played significantly better with him in the squad. Which I understand that there's a lot of discourse around it. Us being the same, like there's no putting it past it. That first goal was because he passed it to their striker who scored. When he tried to clear it, right? And the second goal probably could have done better. Manning could have also done better. That's the reality of the situation. But does that completely erode all of the goodwill from last season? No, not really. Not in the slightest. It was just an off day. If it becomes multiple off days in a row, then maybe something needs to be done. The potential replacement, quote unquote, for him and Taylor Harwood-Bellis that we reported on literally yesterday has potentially now already gone to Burnley or is going to Burnley, or Burnley have put a bid in for him. I don't know if it's been confirmed that he's signed now. But
I saw the most recent report I saw was that they are just awaiting the results of a medical to.
There you go. Which and also I did also point out that like seems that we've just completely forgotten the other centre backs we have in the squad. But that's fine, whatever. But so hopefully we can just put last week down to a blip, and that we start strong. And I'd much rather have one of those games where we have like a classic Tonda first half, like put them to the sword, and then just play a little bit crap the second half but not lose, than what we've been doing recently, which is like first half nothing, get moaned at, come out early, what I mean, right? Where it's come out early than the other team after half time because it's like, well, you know what you need to do, and then maybe not, as we did last week, be able to do what we wanted to do to get it over. It might be different. We haven't had a press conference yet. I think there'll be a big difference if we get Yander in the squad again, personally. But, what are your thoughts? That's a lot of rambling from me, mate. What's your thoughts?
No, I think you're right. I think it's going to be important to start fast at St Mary's. Whilst it's going to be a lively St Mary's atmosphere and everyone's going to be excited to be back, and I think it's going to be good and it's going to be buzzing, we, at the best of times, are an impatient fan base, I think is the fairest way to put it. And if we concede early or play as badly as we played in the first half last week, that it's not going to take much to dissipate that positive atmosphere. And at best, simmer it down, and at worst, actively turn it. Right? It's it kind of hangs on a knife edge, so it's going to be really important to start fast and keep that atmosphere up. And even then, sitting off isn't going to be seen as a favourable tactic. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one, and also it being the first, it's the first home game since the playoff semi-final. So obviously we've seen all of the properly engaged and online vocal fans' opinions, and we've seen the away travelling fans' opinions. It'll be interesting to kind of get the vibe of the more casual fan who attends the match day at St Mary's and see what it's like. Is it going to be a sold out match day? I don't know. I haven't looked at the ticket numbers to have that information, right? Is it going to be noticeable that there's less people there? Is it going to be as lively as we're expecting because it's opening day, because we know what the vocal fans' opinions are? Or is it already going to be quite subdued because of that hangover from last season? Because we, as engaged fans, are, sick to death of Spygate and are past it, are the less engaged fans who haven't really thought about it all summer but are now coming back to, deal with it and see that Tonda's still in charge and go from there. How are they going to feel about it? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to make for a slightly combustible atmosphere in either direction is kind of what I see panning out. And if we can use that to our advantage, great. Let's hope that is the case. I don't know. I genuinely think that opinion is swayed either way entirely based on performance. Like, if it's a rubbish performance, the negatives become much louder. If it's a positive performance, they go away. And that's kind of how I feel it's going to go for at least the first 5 to 10 games of the season, until we're really solidified in what we're doing and confident that it's going to play out well. Like I say, the time that Tonda's got to turn it around is progressively less, especially compared to last season. So, yeah, it'll be a good one, though. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I think that it's a good game to have as the first game back, to be honest, because of that, a lot of fans will be coming in with the expectation of, it's Stoke, so it's just going to be a rubbish game. But
that may be true. But also, I think that regardless of whether it's Stoke or not, that people will be looking forward to it, and I think that it is an opportunity, as you pointed out.
I almost wonder if it was like we speculated about the the not having any pre-season friendlies at home, and if it was maybe because of like stadium improvements or what else. But maybe it was a deliberate choice to kind of guide the psychology of the fan base more than anything, right? Because especially a pre-season friendly, which are very rarely sellouts anyway, that would be a potential vocal opportunity for the side of the fan base who are not behind Tonda to make their opinions known. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but do you think that with the vibe that people are going to come into the stadium after not being in there since the semi-final playoff, knowing that there's going to be a lot of vocal support, seeing that there's been quite a lot of vocal support, and then start whinging? I just feel like you don't want that level of divide in the fans.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people will be willing to. I think that it will turn quicker if we don't get results than it has done previously. And I wouldn't be surprised if they've got some stuff lined up in the background, especially considering we don't even know what the outcome of this ridiculous, long-winded thing is now at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's what makes it interesting, because the honest answer is I just don't know. I don't know what the people who aren't as so fully switched on to follow every piece of Saints news every day that make up, let's be honest, the majority of the people who attend football matches. Absolutely fine. Perfectly acceptable way to live your life. But it'll be interesting to see how their opinions play out. But look, mate, let's get past that. Let's get to our predicted lineup. So, look, Daniel Peretz is going to be in goal. We don't even need to talk about it. I'd keep the back four the same. You?
Yeah, pretty much. If Stevens is up for it, yeah, sure. If not, I'm fine with Wood going in. I'm still a bit baffled that people just seem to not think of that as a solution, despite the fact that he did really solid most of last season.
Yeah,
it's just that's a really one that I can't quite wrap my head around as to the fall off of opinion of the fact that we need like another. If one of our centre backs goes, yes, we need to replace them. I don't think that but we do have quite a large cohort.
I think a lot of that opinion of looking for a new centre back kind of comes from reluctant acceptance that Taylor Harwood-Bellis would probably go. I think at this point, it's more likely that he stays, but you never really know until it comes to it. But I think consistency in the back line is important, and like you say, one bad game or at least one bad half of a game for Stevens doesn't write off the goodwill he earned from last season. So 2 bad games in a row might be starting to get closer to how it's going to pan out for the rest of the season. But, they all started slow. It's not just on Stevens for
no, yeah, that's the thing, right? There's a lot of situations, we should have been finishing our chances a lot quicker. It shouldn't have taken, right up until just when it did for us to score. We should have scored, put away some of our chances earlier. There's lots of it was very, very much an opening game. I think some people did some, I think it's one of the TSP guys did spoke about the opening day fixtures and our record and how abysmal it is for every season, bad. Basically.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad. Where clearly there just seems to be we're still on holiday, whether we like it or not. So yeah, hopefully we can just move past that first home game of the season and do well. And I don't see why we need to change everything up when that's a system that's worked for us solidly. So you're right. Peretz in goal, keep the same back four.
Yeah, good. Moving up to midfield, hopefully we'll see Casper Yander back, right? That's the big one. If he is fit enough to play, do you think we see him come back in and start?
Yes.
Or do you think we'll be easing him off the bench? Think he's going to come straight back in?
Yeah.
Paired alongside presumably Flynn Downs?
Yeah, because we've realised we need him. And from what I can tell, the conversation around it has been... maybe he starts and comes off later. I think that I don't want, as we pointed out, I don't want it to be a last 20, 30 minutes, which is what they did with Zaz, because it didn't result in us winning, did it? That's the problem.
No, it's not enough of a thing, right? We need him to do. That said, again, Cam Bragg's one fairly poor game last week doesn't move on from the fact that actually he was really solid for us for huge parts of last season. And let's not forget, an exceptional performance against Colchester.
Yeah, but I also would like to point out that most of the time it's because he deputises for Flynn Downs and them playing alongside each other. We had that during the Premier League season that I can't remember who it was that just couldn't play alongside Flynn for whatever reason.
It was Shea and Flynn for the start of last season as well, right? It took them a little minute to work out how to both play that position. But once it clicked, we didn't look back.
But we can't afford for time. We don't have the time to wait for something to click. And we know that Yander plays well, and we know how important he became to the end of last season. there were lots of rumours talking about whether or not he's going to leave, right? And there was a lot of reports, personal stuff that, again, like we don't really know the ins and outs of it. But the long and short of it is, it doesn't look like he's leaving. He's had an injury pre-season that probably would put off any suitors anyway. Might mean that the conversation in January is very, very different. But after losing Shea Charles and going in to get another player, to be clear, we could have another midfielder by Saturday. We're recording this on Thursday morning, so considering how quick the transfer market moves, there's already been rumours knocking around of that Watford guy on his way.
I doubt that even if we bring a player in now, that he's going to be registered and ready to play on Saturday, right? Like that, you got to have a couple of days to bed into training. But you're right, it's hard.
But you could start Yanda for 60 minutes and bring on Newbie, or as you pointed out, I feel like a likely scenario probably is going to be Bragg and Downs, and then if Yanda's fit enough, come on later. I would prefer it the other way around, because we need to make an instant impact and not wait until we're a goal or two down before we start like turning it up. We need to turn it up immediately and then just defend.
Yeah. That said, right, the Cam Bragg's not great performance last week but mostly the way I viewed it and the way that it came to my attention was his very uncharacteristic like lack of passing ability. Like it seemed that every time he passed the ball, it went to a Watford player. Now, some of that could have been Watford's press. Some of that could have literally been the other players around him not doing what he was supposed to do, and therefore him looking bad, right? So actually, maybe he can just slide back in. It's so hard to tell from one game.
I wouldn't be upset, put it that way. It's not like I'm devastated by it. I also don't think that, if he proves himself, I don't think that they're going to worry as much about getting another player in. They've already discussed it anyway, but I hope that he still I hope that he still continues to, get game time and continue his development. So, that's pretty much how I view the midfield, to be perfectly honest.
That's fair. I agree. I'd prefer to see Yander start, but we'll be happy with Cam Bragg sitting in there. Flynn Downs is almost a cert, right? Moving forward up the pitch then, for me, I really want to see Asaz back and starting.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to see it, because I think that, again, I don't think the fitness is there, which doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty sharp when he came on. So maybe,
but I don't know if they're going to play him to start. I hope they start him.
Even if it's only upping his minutes to like 60 minutes, right? It feels like that should be the logical progression. I think Dobbin has been really impactful for us, especially in pre-season, right? But I don't know if it was his fault or the way Tonda was instructing him, but that kind of the weird rotation that he was doing with Leo, it didn't work, right? Maybe it will work with some tweaking, and that is the way, right? And like I said in our match review, I can see the tactical logic of starting in the centre and drifting out left to try and take the defender with you, in the same way that starting out on the left and kind of drifting more central in the aim of pulling the fullback out of position to create that space for your fullback to run into. It makes sense and it's logical, but it didn't work, and I don't know. I still, I guess, wouldn't be upset to see Dobbin start, and maybe not focus so much on those rotations. But for me, I mean, for the front line that's kind of sits behind the striker, I'd like to see Azaz, Fellows, and Cienza.
Yeah, I'd agree to that. I think I'm fine with that. I think, Latsky had a rough game last game, to be honest, as well. And I think that, having Fellows come back in would, create a bit of competition, make it work to get the spaces, right? And then I wouldn't be surprised if we see Laren start again, or maybe Mbama, just because then we can bring on Laren as an impact later. Because I think that we've got enough goal threat with those other players that there's not going to be all the pressure on him to put away every chance.
Yeah. I think I think if we didn't have a game Tuesday that is in a less important competition, let's put it that way, I think that we maybe would have seen Mubama start. But I think that this game week, we probably see Larin start Saturday, Mubama start
Interesting.
Tuesday, Larin
Okay.
start Saturday.
That's
So
going
I
to be a
think
fun
I'm going to go
conversation.
Larin. Do you think, we're talking about that midfield area, one thing we didn't really talk about is that in pre-season, or in fact against Colchester, we saw Matsky drop deeper and fill in that role. Do you think that's a possibility? Like, we get Matsky and Downs in those positions and then have that front line of Azaz and Fellows with...
Again, like, that's kind of where he played before he joined us, right? I don't really know how he played at Gastepi, but specifically when he played in Japan, that is where he played. However, obviously that's not the role that he's had in the team for a while. Do we want to start messing around with people's positions when, again, we need to start quick? And this is where I made, the only real, like, tactical criticism I have with Tonda is that, okay, you're trying to fit like a square peg in a round hole or whatever, or vice versa, the other way around. It's just stop tweaking too much. If we had a system that worked, kind of go with that. And I would prefer that other players try to kind of fit into that rather than kind of us mess around with too much. Especially if they know they're going to bring in another midfielder. We know that Yanda it's just fitness. It's not that it's not that he can't play ever again. So there's no need to kind of mess around with his position. So arguably at this point,
it's one of those decisions that actually we talked about a lot towards the end of Will Steele's campaign with us, where if it plays out, it's football genius, and when it doesn't, it looks really stupid. Like, we're talking like putting Jack Stevens in midfield, right? Like, if that works out, who else thinks of that? That's brilliant. When it doesn't, what are you thinking?
Taking off Leo Cienza for Jack Stevens is, I think, the decision that really put the nail in the coffin at that point, right? And losing to Preston. Pretty sure Dobbins scored against us that game as well. That last home game he had. But yeah, is what it is.
All right, good stuff. Well, look, what then do the history books say about this result? Well, look, we know that historic form can be taken with a pinch of salt. We've got some interesting stats that almost contradict each other, which kind of really prove how little these historic stats actually mean to anything, but they're still interesting. So Stoke City are unbeaten in each of their last 5 away league games at St Mary's, having won 4 and drawn 1. They so play well at St Mary's, or at least get results at St Mary's, is an upsetting stat, which is probably why I have this overhanging feeling of Stoke being an awful game, right?
But that loss was last season.
Yeah.
And that loss was the one where we still hadn't even really figured out what we were doing. That was similar sort of time scale as well, right at the end of August. I'm pretty sure it's almost to the day when we play. It was either the 22nd or 23rd last year that we also played Stoke at home. And again, the squad was completely different.
Look, despite good form at St Mary's, their away form in general, not great. They had lost each of their final 7 away league games last season, having a longer losing streak on the road than... last having a longer losing streak on the road away from home with Tony Pulis in 2003. So, look, their away form, not good. Their form at St Mary's, okay. Overall, in the last 18 matches with them, it's dead tie. 6 wins for them, 6 wins for us, 6 draws. No decisive lean one way or the other. So look, the odds go in our favour, presumably because of the home advantage, and a narrow win is what the summaries and the AI analysis points out to me. Doesn't go as far as giving a score.
That sounds like 2-1.
It does sound like 2-1. It doesn't outwardly say 2-1 for a change.
That's nice.
But look, that's the AI and the history books and what they say. But what really matters, mate, is what do you think the score's going to be? How do you see it playing out?
I'd like to think 2-1. We beat them last time 2-0. I think that we've probably still got a mistake enough in us to concede. So I'm not going to be as positive as I was last week, thinking that we might win it 2-0. Yeah, I'd say I reckon we got a good chance of getting a 2-1 there. Again, get the 2 goals early, and then again, like I don't know, I just don't know if we'll be able to strike the way that no one will want to watch Greg, and the way that real football will be back is that we go 2 goals up, we get to half time, we concede early, and then we spend the rest of the game fighting to keep that lead, which is not anything that anyone wants to see.
You're right.
And
That
that
would
would be
be
a perfect
miserable.
reintroduction. Yeah,
That would be
it would be
typical
miserable.
St Mary's experience.
Yeah, there you go. Where everyone around you starts to get annoyed and wound up, and then they hold up the board, and it's like 8 minutes added time, and then it turns out there was like one substitution. So you're like, where did 8 minutes come from? So yeah, it's just going to be that's how I see it playing out. But where are those goals coming from? Who knows? It's always a good, it's always good to just say Cienza or Larin
Yeah, pretty
because
good odds, right?
and Azaz if he plays the whole game, right?
Yeah.
Again, it was him and Downs that scored in the last game against Stoke, so
Yeah,
let's go with Cienza and Larin to get the goals,
I like
and
that.
miscellaneous for Stoke.
I like that. It's good. Good stuff. What do I think? Oh, well, look, I always wish that I put a bit more thought into this beforehand, but I always leave it to the last minute to really get that gut feeling after we've talked about it and had all of our discussion points and all of the stats. So I think 3-0. I feel like a decisive victory, clean sheet, start the season off at home in the best possible way. Never be uncomfortable. Look, I don't even want to let them have a shot on target. Just going to completely shut up shop and dominate. We're going to have 76 shots and only score 3 of them, and that's fine. That's how I want the game to go. That's not necessarily what I see happening, but that's the optimistic side of me coming out.
Okay.
Even the way I actually see the game going, I still think 3-0 is a realistic scoreline. Obviously, they're going to have shots on target, and I just think we're going to have enough to put that decisive past them. I think that Laren's going to score. I think that we're going to get a home debut goal for Mubama.
Okay.
Just hit the ground running straight away. He's going to come on when we're 2-0 up and there's no pressure, and he's just going to run at them and score and get that monkey straight off the back and just hit the ground running and fly. And it wouldn't be a delusionally optimistic start to the season if I didn't predict that third goal coming from Tom Fellows.
Oh, you ruined it. You've ruined it. You predicted he was going to score, so now that just means that your entire prediction is in the bin, mate. You know that the instant you predict Tom Fellows' goal is when it's never going to happen. You've cursed the lad by saying that he scores goals, and you're really excited to him come to West Brom.
He's gonna pick up the ball on the right wing and go for one of these darting runs where he takes on 3 or 4 players, and then he's gonna look like he's gonna go to the outside and charge to the byline and put in a cross like he does so successfully so often. And he's gonna sit the defender down, go the other way, and curl on top bins. It's gonna happen, and it's gonna be glorious.
Sure, buddy.
Here first.
Sure thing, mate.
But look, let us know your predictions, your thoughts in the comments and on the socials. We are Daily Saints Pod everywhere. X, Blue Sky, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Hit us up and let us know. How much do you think we're going to win by? Do you think we're going to win? Love to hear everyone's thoughts. It's what makes football being back so much more enjoyable. We will be back after the game to talk about it, whatever happens, be it joyous or be it cursed. We will be back and we will talk about it as we do. Until then, everyone, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy being back at St Mary's, and we will see you then. But most importantly, Come on, you Saints!
This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.